Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 42 of Divergent Dialogues. Today we have Cammy with us, who is the organizer of the Neurodivergent Minds Conference. So, super excited to have a chat with her. So, welcome, Cammy.
Thank you. I'm super excited. Super excited to be here.
So, Cammy is a neurodivergent pediatric speech pathologist on the Sunshine Coast. She's undertaking a PhD on neurodiversity affirming speech pathology practice and has a passion for supporting individuals of all neurotypes to achieve their goals and live fulfilling lives. So, I'm really curious, Cammy, what inspired you to begin your PhD research and how has the journey unfolded so far?
Oh, I feel like I'm like in the trenches now because I'm taking it part-time. So it's gonna be a long journey. But I think for me it was, I was thinking about this type of practice that I was hearing about and trying to do, and I was like, we don't have concrete evidence and everyone asks for it. Everyone wants to know, what's the evidence behind this approach. And so I have always been curious about research. My speechy brain well, my ADHD brain also loves the mix of, the creative side, but also the really, structured and um, researchy side of things. So yeah, put my hand up for it. It's been a process. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of it challenges my brain every single day. But we're in the trenches and we're crawling through.
What have you enjoyed so far?
Oh, I mean, I get really excited about things. So like when I start a research portion, I get to be really excited about it. And, there's kind of there's rules, but there's no limit. I can do as much as I want. If it keeps me up all night, it's great. I can hyper focus on it. Um, and it has been really, really interesting, to learn, yeah, what's out there and what people are already doing and meet and chat with all the researchers who are doing work in this area. Um, and yeah, just getting to pick their brains. It's been really cool.
Yeah. So, Tina and I are also doing our PhDs at the moment in a similar area. So I'm also looking at neuroaffirming practice, but from a more interdisciplinary approach. So like super excited. So I think there's probably going to be reference to your research in bring my thesis for sure. And yeah, Tina as well is I mean, I'm not going to speak for you, Tina. What's your area of research?
Oh, mine's women, and yeah, the female experience of navigating assessment and diagnosis for autism and ADHD. It's such an interesting space, learning all the different experiences that people have had, and those challenges, they're so unnecessary.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
but I
I've got some names for you, Tina. I've got some names.
Oh, thank you. I love that.
Yeah, but I think it is a really exciting area to research at the moment because it's so rapidly evolving. There's a lot of lived experience, people coming forward to do research in this area. And not just neuroaffirming practice, but yeah, the autistic experience and what that actually looks like. Because there's a lot of really horrible research out there saying what autism is or what the autistic experience is, and it's wildly inaccurate. In true autistic fashion, autistic people are like, we got to get this right. We've got to we put a straight
Standard. We've set the standard now. The shift to co-participatory research. It's almost like a non-negotiable now. You have to you have to be engaging in that to be doing research that people care about. Which is so interesting. It would have been so easy to be someone 40 years ago who was just like, I'm just gonna make a decision about what autism is.
there.
Yeah, awesome.
Just, gather up your kids, your close friends and family, watch them for a while and create a whole theoretical framework about what they do and how they develop. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Taking the time to ask people, what's your
Yeah. How revolutionary is that? Actually ask the people that are having the experience what their experience is. Oh my gosh, mind blowing.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, I'm being sarcastic, but also that's what happened for so long. They didn't bother asking autistic people what their experience was, so they just observed from afar and made judgments essentially.
Well, it's in the female space, like women. It's 2025, and we're only really just starting to understand that men and women on that biological level are different. That we present differently with all sorts of different conditions, and autism and ADHD are one of those things that looks different. And it took us this long to figure that out.
I know. And so then to think about, like gender diversity, how long is it going to take us to really properly understand, how that reflects in different, diagnoses? It's going to be really interesting time for this research, I think.
Yes. Yeah, very exciting. So I'm really curious. Do you have any sort of like key findings or insights that you'd like to share from your research so far that might be helpful for our listeners or just for the neurodivergent community in general?
Yeah. So I have been analyzing the data from a qualitative study. So I spoke with autistic adults and speech pathologists about neurodiversity affirming speech pathology practice. And I'm at the writing part, so it's that's the trudging bit. But it was really interesting to see the results come through. Firstly, because speech pathologists and autistic people agreed, which was really, really exciting. I think sometimes there is that gap between professionals and the people that they're supporting. So that was really awesome. I think it helped that a lot of my speech pathologists were also autistic, which I think was nice, but also reflects the diversity in the profession that people don't always see. And what the study found was that the principles and the characteristics of neurodiversity affirming practice are they're very much a big shift in how we practice. And I don't think they come as a surprise to anyone who's doing neurodiversity affirming practice, but may come as a surprise to those who are new to it. So the principles that came out were about things like responsive practice and looking at the person in front of you and making adjustments and shifts based off who you have in front of you. And whatever they're bringing, whether it's their past traumas or their other diagnoses and that sort of thing. And it was about making the individual the driver of their supports, unpacking their goals. Why have they come to you asking for an eye contact goal, for example, rather than taking that at face value? Let's unpack that and figure out the why. There was definitely a big component of really expecting clinicians to do the learning, do the work. Like, don't come in and say, "Oh, I'm neurodiversity affirming," if you're not genuine. And really take the time, advocate, educate others. That was a really big part of it. Number 4, I'm trying to remember what the fourth one was. There's a fourth principle. It's not coming to my head right now, but it was pretty interesting. The results were very similar to the work done by Beck Flower, which was recently published. And she did a Delphi study looking at the principles of neurodiversity affirming practice from a psychology lens. So it was comforting to see that there's some consistency between professions. It's not just only species have to do this.
Yeah.
But no, it was really, really interesting stuff.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, because I think I'm in the earlier stages of my PhD, so I have my confirmation actually tomorrow. So that's exciting. But yeah, similar to what you were saying, Cammy, like I've done my literature review, and yeah, that very much speaks to other research in the area. And it's really like an emergent practice, and really about attuning to the person that's in front of you and being really flexible. So yeah, I think that's a massive shift probably for a lot of people that aren't used to working in that way, maybe a little bit more rigid and protocol sort of based. And yeah, I think I did see that other research. So I think I could kind of see there was different, like particularly like a psychology focus, and I think it's really cool that there's the speechy lens as well. And I don't think I've come up I don't think I've seen in like OT neuroaffirming
Not
stuff
there is a
yet.
Dorman. Aaron Dorman does a lot of work in that space. But it's more general. It's
Yeah.
theoretical as opposed to studies based.
Yeah. So I think I could kind of see where things were headed, and I'm a social worker by trade. So I was considering just focusing on social work. But I think I guess as a social worker, and I guess the lenses that I work with, like from that systemic lens, I was really interested in not just understanding neurodiversity affirming practice as a static thing, but also like how other professions perceive it, and if that there's some consistency there as well. So I think it'll be really interesting to also like draw from your research and the other research, and I'm sure there's going to be other things that pop up in the next few years as well, because I think a lot of people are really interested about this topic. So yeah, it doesn't surprise me.
I love hearing that that what's coming through the research about clinicians, like practitioners, having to do the work, because I think that so often I hear from the people I work with, their experiences of working with, different disciplines and whatnot. And their website says neuroaffirming practice, and they say all the things, but all is that means, on below the surface is that we've got a box of fidgets in the room, or something really sort of tokenistic, superficial, but not understanding what what it is, what it is about neurodiversity and the things that matter. Then you can't ask questions about, well, why are you wanting to focus on eye contact, or what's the why behind choosing this goal? Because when you know that, this person is potentially thinking this because they think they have to, and you can help like work back from that, I think it just creates this real safe space of learning and understanding. And if clinicians don't know that there's more to it than just a box of fidgets, then it's just, I don't know. I feel like there needs to be a lot more learning attached before people can call themselves neuroaffirming.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so evolving as well. I think, obviously when neurodiversity affirming practice kind of emerged, it was very much the autism ADHD space. And now we're, going, actually, there's more to neurodiversity than that. And so then it requires you to learn about the other neurotypes and how we can reframe those and understand them from an affirming standpoint. And so it's going to keep changing. We're going to have to keep learning, and you have to be willing to make that happen. You can't just go, oh, well, I understand autistic kids, so I'm good. Be, more complex. And, one of the comments that comes up all the time is, if you're not, affirming of gender and sexuality, then you're not neurodiversity affirming, because we know the stats for neurodivergent people in that space. You can't be one and not the other. And it's so much more than a box of fidgets.
Yeah, I think working with autistic folks in particular, it's very systemic and intersectional work. So you need a lot of knowledge to be able to be competent in working with autistic people. Like if you want to do a really like a neuroaffirming approach, but also like a really thorough job. I mean, you know, obviously you can't wear 100 hats. But you know, often I'll have clients come in and they'll have physical health issues, and like obviously I'm not a doctor, but just because I have knowledge around some of these co-occurring health issues, I can be like, oh, hey, like, you know, this kind of sounds like this might be going on for you. Maybe it's a good idea to chat with your GP or see a specialist because, you know, a lot of autistic folks, you know, experience XYZ, whatever it is. So it's not just about how I can show up for my clients, but also just being able to impart knowledge or kind of steer them in the direction of what might be supportive for them. Because I think for autistic people, it's not just therapy that they're going to need, or, you know, support. There's a lot of other things they may need support with or to be addressed as well.
I think that
So rare to see someone with just autism, like no other, nothing else going. I don't know anyone. If someone knows someone, I'd love to meet them.
Well, I often find if when you know I come across someone who just has one thing, I'm like, oh, you're new to the team. Let's see what else is in your bag.
Oh,
Yeah. But I think, Caitlin, you're absolutely right. Like in my research, is seeing a lot of that invalidating experience that people have when they are knowing that something doesn't feel quite right. I feel like I'm struggling more than I need to be. You know, life doesn't seem to be sinking for me the way it does for everyone else, or physical health concerns that we experience, and just constant invalidating from, you know, health professionals, society more broadly, because, you know, the medical world has done a fantastic job of framing women as, you know, neurotic, hysteric. You know, that was a diagnosis once. Like, how crazy is that? And yeah,
it's a women's issue. It wasn't a men's issue there.
oh yeah,
Women only diagnosis.
yeah, and you know, of course, the solution for that, the antidote, was like hysterectomy.
I mean, you know, we didn't have to get rid of that. It's okay.
Yeah. So they have to justify it forever. But anyway, but that's another podcast, I feel. Another episode.
But being able to validate people's experiences and, you know, what they're thinking and feeling, because so many of those co-occurring things that neurodivergent people experience, they can often be not significant enough for the medical world to register, because it's like, well, you can still participate in the economy, so we're not really interested, and we're not going to do anything to figure this out because, you know, it's just a bit of bloating, or it's just you know, achy joints, you know, things like that they shouldn't get in the way of you going to work. So we're not going to worry about it. But for us, it's, yeah, I don't know, we feel things a lot.
And it's about quality of life as well. Like, you know, why should I have to tolerate discomfort that I don't have to actually tolerate? Maybe there's a solution that's pretty simple, you know, if you take a little bit, like maybe an extra minute to think about it.
Yeah, one thing. You know, it's never just,
Yeah.
you know, that one pain. There's always something else that goes on. And so to not view it in the complexities of that individual. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. So I think something else that I think is really important if you want to be truly neuroaffirming is that there's a certain amount of humility that's involved, particularly working with autistic people, because they will be really honest and tell you if something isn't working for them, which is totally fine. And it's actually really helpful. But I think, you know, especially for people who have been clinically trained, or maybe they've been in the game for a while and, you know, have been trained in other approaches, probably previous to the last maybe 5 years, there is a level of humility involved where the approaches that you're using might not be helpful for your autistic clients, and they might not actually be affirming And I think when someone is going, hey, like this isn't working for me, like, sometimes it might be the individual, like, obviously everyone's different. But if consistently you're getting this feedback of, hey, this isn't working for me, or this approach isn't helpful, it's about going, okay, like maybe I need to change my approach, or maybe I need to learn a little bit more, understand a bit more. Like that is such rich and important information for you to take on board. And I think that there is going to be a big shift in that kind of power dynamic, in that kind of therapeutic or that support space where, it used to be like, oh, well, I'm the professional person and I know all the things and you have to listen. And now it's like, no, like we're kind of leveling, that power dynamic and being like, well, no, like people, like lived experience is valid, and people, I mean, they understand themselves best. Like I always say to my clients, I'm like, well, you know you best, so I'm going to default to what you feel is going on. I can offer suggestions and strategies and all that kind of thing, but at the end of the day, like I'm not going to question your reality. So yeah, I'm just curious if that came up at all in your research.
Did.
Yeah.
No, it definitely did. And as you're saying that, I'm like, I should have said that before. Yes, no, definitely. So, um,
Maybe that was number 4.
no, number 4 came to my head eventually, was knowledge of ways of being. But yes, no, it did. That power shift, and that role change, definitely came up, and it was again from both groups of participants, which is really nice to see that the speeches are acknowledging that too. As you were saying that, I was thinking about my clinical supervisor as a speechie. She actually never refers to saying like I work with this client or this is my client. She says I work for, which I think is a really, like, obviously, language is really powerful. And she sort of naturally does that already. I don't know where she got that from, but yeah, she talks about working for that particular person. And I think it's definitely, you know, the the way it has to be, because every person, as you said, comes in and they've got a different experience. And the participants in my study, I mean, they came with so many different experiences, which was great. I was really, really fortunate to have such diverse experiences. But they talked about, that I'm the one who knows me, or as a parent, I'm the one that understands my child, and my child is telling you XYZ. And it's your job to stop and listen, whatever that looks like, and make adjustments. And I think it is really hard because it means there's not a lot you can plan for as a clinician. It's tricky in that sense. Yeah, people that like to walk into a session without a robust therapy plan like we were taught at university. But it's kind of the way it has to be, because otherwise you're not leaving space or the nuance of whatever that client is going to bring you that day.
Yeah, that's something that I had to learn. My autistic brain's like, oh, I love a good therapy plan. But time and time again, like consistently, my clients are like, I like flexibility. I like flexibility. I'm like, all right, well, let's go with this. And I think just working with what's emergent at the time has been way more helpful than me going, all right, well, today we're going to be learning about this or doing this. Because I think for a lot of autistic people, I guess learning or understanding in context is really important. So, yeah, it's much better to kind of apply it to what's going on in the moment. But I wanted to give Teena some space because I feel I feel like it's your turn for space. Yeah.
Oh, and yeah, I was actually going to say that when I have a new client come in, you have your spiel, getting to know each other, and I always ask, have you done this kind of therapy before? Is this new to you? And quite often people will say, oh no, I've seen other people, and I work with adolescents as well. And when people tell me they've worked with others before, like, oh, what worked for you? What didn't work for you? And over and over and over and over again, the thing that didn't work for them was, well, they decided what they wanted to focus on. And just more recently, a young person had said that they didn't want to disclose to me that they engage in self-harm because there was a risk that I would only focus on that, making them stop that. And that wasn't the thing that they wanted help with. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's actually really cool that you've been able to tell me that you were actually not going to tell me this, because it's become such an issue for you that, yeah, adults just keep steamrolling you with what they think you need to be working on, which, essentially all the adults in this person's life want to help and support this person, but because they keep prioritizing their, wishes on what needs to be dealt with, this young person was just more and more disengaged from support. And I thought, oh, wow, that's really powerful knowledge that in attempts to help, they're actually like taking away this resource that the young person was so willing and open to engage with. But it's like, no. So, yeah, I think it's that listening and being driven by the client. And I think, in our social work degree, that was something that we did to learn about, that it's, start with the client where they're at, rather than with what you think is important. It's
Yeah.
very powerful.
Yeah, even with my supervisee, sometimes, or even students, they'll be like racking their brains, like, oh, I don't know, I don't know what the answer is. And I'm like, okay, have you asked the client? And they're like, oh, no. I'm like, okay, well, that's the place to start. Ask the client. Because I think sometimes people feel a little bit scared. They're like, oh, well, I'm meant to be the expert that knows everything. So if I ask the client that, they're going to think that I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. But honestly, usually people appreciate it so much. They're almost shocked. They're like, oh, you want to hear what I think, or what I think is going on, or what I want? And they really appreciate it. Like, it's just foreign to them, which is, yeah, sad in a way.
I think the risk factor as well, when, and rightfully so, when someone hears that a person is, engaging in self-harm, that's, that can be really like scary, problematic. But I think, taking a breath and sitting with that discomfort, and, with this particular young person, I said, okay, I'm more than happy to start with where you want to start, but can I just check first, what is the self-harm? Can you give me some information about that? And, harm reduction, harm minimization conversation, to make sure that person, is safe. And, then let's move on, let's just, yeah. So I think knowing that, being able to tolerate sitting with risk, I think, is important for clinicians to understand how to do that, so they can focus on what the client wants to focus on.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I feel like this conversation could go on forever in like a million different directions. But I'd really love to, chat a little bit more about the Neurodivergent Minds Conference. So Cammy, I'm really interested, what led you to create the Neurodivergent Minds Conference, and what gap you're hoping to fill with this conference?
Probably a level of insanity drove me to this, but like here now, oh no, we don't get a lot of fictional development on the Sunshine Coast, and certainly not in this space. There's a lot of talk about neurodiversity affirming practice, but it's still really emerging for a lot of clinicians across different disciplines. And I saw how successful and how powerful Yellow Ladybugs has been for the last few years in sharing different perspectives and supporting people to really understand neurodiversity affirming practice from different lenses, which has been incredible. And so, yeah, I wanted to see something similar happen locally. And so I'm hoping that, parents, clinicians, individuals themselves can come along and have something in person, which doesn't always happen. And really get to, be absorbed and immersed in neurodivergent culture, different experiences, I recently attended another conference in Melbourne that was so neurodiversity affirming, and the culture shift in that room. I joked with others later. I was expecting to have to follow neurotypical rules, and it was very disconcerting at first. Because I was like, wow, I could just be myself. So, you know, to see the power that having, a space that's so safe for neurodivergent people. I'm really hoping that that will, come across it at my conference as well.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think something that's really important, I guess my observation, because I was also at that conference and I had a great experience. And I think, as much as an autistic person, as much as I'd love to, go to conferences and all these things, it can be really overwhelming. And often, like I'm in Brisbane, we don't have a lot of conferences here, so often having to travel to Melbourne or, maybe Sydney or wherever else it is, it's never in Brisbane. So I think it's really cool to have something more, Sunshine Coast is close to Brisbane, so more local. But I think when I went to that conference, I was like bracing. I was bracing for, like I've got to get through this and, tolerate all this, overwhelm and all sort kind of thing. And I mean, was there an element of overwhelm and things like that? Yes. Like I'm still a neurodivergent person, but it was like 10% compared to what I was used to, because like there was a sensory room. I didn't feel like I had to sit there like a good little person and, not make any movements or sounds or whatever. And I think just being around like my people and all these sorts of things. So I think, for people that are kind of like, oh, conference, oh, that sounds a bit overwhelming, that sounds a bit much. I think, like a lot of these conferences now, that are generally neuroaffirming, it's a completely different experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that was my first conference that I'd been to. So I was very overwhelmed because I was like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? I'm in a different city. But I think, having all of those accommodations. So, being able to have different places to sit and also validating that. I think, one of the biggest things is when they say you can sit however you want to sit and they voice that. I think that is, it's super powerful for neurodivergent people, and it does make it so much more accessible. Because, as I said earlier, there's a whole divergent clinician, demographic that are out there doing incredible work and want to learn more. And so they want to attend all of these, events and conferences, and it has to be, accessible to them. Otherwise, as we know with our, clients, if they're in overwhelm, they can't learn. So what are they going to do? Sit there and be in overwhelm and not learn anything? I don't think so.
Yeah. And also accessibility at conferences, it's not a bowl of fidgets on the table.
No. No.
Just putting it out there for people. Yeah.
Yes, but that's not the only option.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, they're fidgets. So I'm curious, would you be happy to talk a little bit about some of the things you put in place for accessibility at the conference?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's all still work in progress, and I'm super open to feedback and ideas. But one of the things, sorry, I'm trying to think of all the things we've done. But one of the things is alternative seating. So there will obviously be your regular chairs and tables, but also bean bags as an option, some wiggle cushions, that sort of thing, to make that accessible. We're looking at adjusting lighting. It was something that I didn't even notice at the last conference I went to, and then I looked up and I was like, oh, that's due. Good morning, sweetness.
And my kitty cat just came to join me to let me know that dinner's in breakfast is in an hour.
Oh, yeah.
Reminder. Yeah, sorry to
Eating the bin. So I'm just going to eat the bin underneath it. Yes. So yeah, alternative seating. We're looking at lighting. We have a fantastic sponsor. She's a local occupational therapist who is supplying us with a whole bunch of different sensory options for different, so like tactile, but also smell and touch. Tactile and touch are the same thing. Tactile, smell, sound, that sort of thing. We're looking at headphones and obviously people may bring their own loops and things like that, but we're looking at bringing along some headphones and looking at making things like the bathrooms more accessible. So, turning off hand dryers and stuff like that. In terms of the sort of presentation screens, my words are going out the window. The coffee is worn off. Closed captions, that sort of thing. And we are looking at having recordings of all of the presentations for anyone who didn't quite process things in the moment to come back to at the end as well.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, I think I'll actually be presenting at the conference and I'm really excited. And I think I really challenged myself of thinking about how I could make my presentation more accessible. And yeah, I definitely took some notes from a few of the conferences that I've been to this year. So yeah, I'm really, really excited to present. So I'm curious, what do you hope attendees, whether neurodivergent individuals, professionals, or allies, what are you hoping for them to take away from the conference?
I really want people to walk away reflective. I want them to, I guess, we know that neurodiversity is so diverse, but I would love for people to walk away and really question, have I really explored the experiences of the people that I work with or the people that I'm around, people that I support, and seeing them as more than just maybe what that primary diagnosis looks like. I really want people to think about the whole family unit. So I do a lot of work with bigger families, 4 or 5 kids, and mums are always they somehow manage to get themselves an NDIS plan. Good on them. But then they don't have space to do something with that because they're so busy in overwhelm, in, fight or flight, trying to just keep their heads going. So I really want people to think about, families and how we can support more broadly and thinking about the experiences, not only of mothers, obviously of all parents and caregivers, but particularly mothers. I think that's a really big area at the moment. And we have some really lovely presenters speaking to those experiences. And I really want professionals particularly to come away excited to learn more, and have that moment when they get home where they're like, I'm going to Google that person, or I'm going to look up the next conference that's going to be on, and really get excited about this, because I think if you're not passionate about neurodiversity affirming practice, it can be really hard. Really hard to get into. And we've already talked about how much work it is, to really understand and be immersed in it. And so I want them to come away excited and go, yes, I really want to do this. I really want neurodivergent people as well to come away feeling safe, but also feeling like their identity is validated, and that they, are not the only person experiencing it. I think the way that it looks on the Sunshine Coast it doesn't look very diverse, just in general. So I think, it can be very isolating to not necessarily have those people that you can go, oh yeah, such and such experiences life like I do. And it'll never be the same, but finding those hubs, finding those groups of people, connecting, feeling okay with being neurodivergent as well. I just want it to be, really positive.
Yeah, I think for a lot of people, just knowing that they're not alone in their experience, it makes such a big difference.
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, excellent. So I'm just curious, is there anything else you'd like to talk about the conference? Anyone that's kind of on the fence, not sure if they're going to attend or buy a ticket, that you think would be helpful for them to know?
Be really flexible, and I want people to feel like they can opt in and opt out to different parts of the 2 days. If you're going to be running late, the registration desk is still open. definitely people will be running late, you know, because we live that one and breathe that every day. You know, if you have to leave early, that session will be recorded, and if you do want to catch up on it, you can. I want it to be, yeah, as flexible as possible, especially for parents. I think there's a real power for parents to hear these, especially adult neurodivergent voices from some very accomplished people. I mean, the people who are presenting, they have, you know, all had really diverse experiences, and some have had, you know, quite tough upbringings or experienced traumas as adults, but they're bringing such joy and confidence to the space. And it's nice to see autistic adults doing incredible things. We know we can, but it's nice to see it. So I really love, yeah, for people to feel like they can come and go, that they've got the space, that it's not a sit down and listen to the teacher sort of situation. And that, you know, I'm running this thing. It's pretty much just me. So if people have questions, please don't be scared to reach out. You know, I'm pretty much on the Instagram, not 24/7, but very close to. So I'm happy to answer questions. You know, if there's ways that I can make things more accessible for people, I want to hear it. Because the conference isn't for me. The conference is for the attendees, the people who are coming along and experiencing it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's so beautiful. I really love that.
That is really cool.
Yeah. So Tina and I are both gonna be there. So yeah, anyone who's listening, who's been listening to us for a little while, you're welcome to come up and say hello. I mean, I won't speak for Tina. I mean, yeah, I don't know how you feel about people coming up.
We'll have a system. We will have a system so people will know if people can apply.
Oh,
Yeah. Well, yeah, in those settings, I do enjoy the interaction, and yeah, I tend to take Caitlin's lead because you're way better at networking and socializing than I am.
She is fantastic.
am I?
You.
Because I internally, I definitely do not feel like that at all. I feel so awkward. I think for me, it's like getting into the conversation and getting out is really hard. The middle bit, I'm fine. I can, you know, I can work it. But yeah, if I feel more comfortable when people come up to me, because if I see someone, I'm like, do they know me? Do they not know me? Do they recognize me? Do they not? Do they want to talk? Do they not want to talk? Like, I'm like trying to.
I've got something in my teeth.
I have this thing where when I see people out and about, unless I see them in the context in which I know them, I just assume everybody's a celebrity. And that's why I'm recognizing them. So it's like, I better not speak to them because, you know, I probably saw them on Home and Away and Neighbours, you know, 100 years ago. And
But yeah,
it's never true. It's never a celebrity.
yeah. But I think like if someone like approaches me, I'm like, all right, green tick. Like this person is wanting to talk to me. Because yeah, it's just so awkward when you're like trying to talk to someone and you're like, oh. So yeah, always happy for people to come up to me. And if I see you but I don't talk to you, don't be offended. It's just because I'm like in my mind being like, is that the person? Is it not? I think it's them. I'm not sure. I don't want to be like weird and go up and be like, hey person, and then it's not that person. So yeah.
And I'm probably standing next to you going, no, I think they're on blue heelers. Well, maybe it was a current affair. I don't know.
Oh my gosh. But I think it's just, yeah, when you get autistic people together, we're just a bunch of awkward turtles. But I think like having that connection is really important. And just having really cool conversations as well. Like you don't always get to chat, chat about your special interests for like 2 or 3 days with a bunch of people who it's also their special interest. So it's a really fun experience.
Yeah. How exciting.
Yeah. So I guess yeah, is there anything else that you want to plug at all, whether about the conference or something else? We usually just give a bit of space.
We're in Speech Pathology Week, the day that we're recording, Speech Pathology Week. So shout out to Speechies. You know, we do a lot of work and, you know, often feel undervalued. So, you know, it's a it's my number one pride and joy is being a speechie. I love it. I love being, that support person for so many little people and big people. But yeah, it's we're really trying to acknowledge the breadth of being species and how we have such an immense impact on some people's lives through, supporting their inclusion and their access and their confidence. It's not just lisps and stutters that we support. So yeah.
Yeah. No, I get that. Tina and I are very proud social workers. So yeah.
We need to advocate for a week. We only have a day.
Oh, that's just not okay. Yeah, we do need a week.
What month is your day in?
March?
I can't always get it wrong.
I think it's in March. That's terrible.
I think it's so fine to make that into a week. There's nothing else around that time. We have to fight with Book Week every year. Book Week and Q Week end up being the same year. This week it's not. This year they've split it, but normally we have to share with Book Week, which, as you can imagine, pediatric speeches struggle with. That's rough. Yeah, we want to celebrate both equally, and we have to choose. And at the end, so
That feels like a bit of a universal stitch up.
I know, I agree. But no, I think March is fine. You'd be fine to have a whole week.
Yeah, I think it's happening in March.
Might submit something to the AASW.
Yeah. Petition for a social work week. Yeah.
I'll sign it. I'll sign the petition.
Oh, excellent. Well, it's been an absolute delight to have you on the podcast, Cammy, and yeah, I'm super excited to attend the conference. So if someone wants to buy a ticket, where do they go to find a ticket, or like you have a website?
Yes. Yeah. So www.neurodivergentmindsconference.com.au. But they can just Google the conference and the website should show up. And it's got all the information on there about presenters, what those presentations look like, the panels, the programs. If you're only coming one day and you want to pick, the 2 programs are up there. And yeah, there's a little contact us box if people have questions as well. But yeah, ticket links are on there.
Yep, excellent. Yeah, and yeah, I'll put all the information in the show notes as well. But yeah, awesome. All right, thank you so much, and thank you to everyone for listening.